Welcome, family tree. Welcome to Movement Decoded. If you're interested in learning something like this skill here, this might be the session for you. Building a bit of strength and adaptability and fluency around the shoulders. So, let's get to it. Today, just building a bit more strength around here. What we will need for this session is a resistance band. So if you don't have one, pause this video, go to your local retailer, buy one, come back and unpause, aka play. First thing we're going to do is not use that. We're going to go through single arm shoulder rotation, controlled articular rotation. So we're going to be a little bit more specific with this movement just to get warmed up. So in a standing position, we're just going to demonstrate with the right arm first. Is this going to be a follow along with me? Or is this going to be a session for you to put in your diary? What have we got? I've actually got notes here. Probably should have thought of this bit before I started. You know what? Let's do it as showing you the exercises, and I'm going to write out the program for you guys so you can, once you know the technique and the tools, you're going to run away with it. But the warm-up, yeah, let's get to it. Wait, we don't need that. Shoulder cars. Here, so I'm having my palm faced out, sweeping the arm across the body to start with, keeping the core nice and strong, pelvis nice and neutral, drawing the arm up, sending the shoulder forwards, then elevating up, trying to brush the air, keeping my arm as close to the midline as possible until I start to rotate into the shoulder. And I'm going to find this full internal rotation, still trying to keep the hand as close as I can towards the midline until it comes down. It will naturally arch out a little bit, especially for my shoulders. I don't have hypermobile shoulders, so it comes out, but I'm still fighting to keep my arm in this line towards the midline, elevate up and diagonal across down. So lift, rotate, squeeze and down. Really nice one. You can work 110% effort in this. Really juice out the shoulder. It's nice and safe because we're working with the strength of our body, and we can't push further than the strength when there's no external force and there's no load. So we can really just juice and squeeze. On the other side, I'm just going to do it so it's nice and even. But again, I sweep across. Shoulder goes forwards, protracts, protraction into elevation, elevation into retraction, and our rotation of the whole shoulder. Through that internal rotation, we come down, and lift, and we retrace the step. I'm looking to keep my body as neutral as possible. There is a slight bit of rotation. What you can also do is stand next to a wall to give yourself a target. So the further away you are from the wall, the easier it is going to be to rotate. But the closer you are, you've kind of got an external cue now to help you. As I lift, I'm okay here, I don't have to touch. But as I start to meet this apex of the rotation, I'm fighting to keep my hand away from the wall. My thumb just brushed. Oh, this is a good one actually. Oh. So then the apex, which is somewhere about here for my shoulder range, I was really fighting to keep away from the wall. So that's a nice little cue. And the way you know if you're progressing or if you feel a bit tighter is the further away you are, the easier it's going to be. The closer you are, the more you're going to have to really squeeze through the shoulder. So now I've done that. Let's go through there's only one exercise where we need a resistance band, actually. So if you don't have one, you can skip the Yuri drills. And you can use a dressing gown towel, a stick, anything that actually just kind of anchors your hand into place. Resistance band is nice because there's a bit of give in the tension as well. And the shoulders have been a huge work in progress part of the body for me for a very long time. They used to be so much tighter than they are now, and there's still not a lot of genetic mobility that I have to rely on. So I really work on the mobility, and it's still a work in progress, but this is why I'm prescribing these drills, because I know what it's like to have fucking stiff shoulders, yo. So this is just some of the tools that I use. Here, a closed chain shoulder cars. Still working in the full range of the shoulder blades, so I'm protracting, elevating, retract, release, depress. Here in the rotation, make sure you're erring on the side of space so that the arms aren't doing this and compensating. Also, make sure the head isn't chicken-headed and not that kind of fighting through the shape, but keeping strong, pelvis neutral, head neutral. Exhale through the apex. Inhale through the movement. So as I get to the really stiff point, I use the breath out. So I'm coming to it now here, so I breathe out. And it just calms down the nervous system a little bit when you're in the crux. I'm back there. I'll touch on rep rates. There I like to do 10 to 12, 10 to 15, just depending. That's a nice moisturizing exercise for the shoulders. So listen to your ancestors when it comes to the rotations, but don't kick the ass out of it. Next one, we're going to need an anchor point. So my anchor point is going to be this door frame. So taking the back of the hand into the loop, but then loosely wrapping the fingers round. And I want to create enough tension on this, just enough tension on the shoulder so I can, it's almost like separating and distracting the shoulder girdle just a little bit so I can rely on that tension. I'm not trying to play tug of war, I'm trying to let the tension open up into the shoulder. Facing away, having the foot opposite to the anchored hand, forwards, like this. First, just in our shoulder extension, we find our rotation external and internal. This here is one of the most important aspects of the next part of the sequence. So making sure we're not guarding and creating tension through the arm in this point, but letting the tension of the band. When the other aspects of the movement gets more challenging or easier, we can lean forwards to make it more tension and more opening, but to make it a bit easier, we lean back. So we use this action of the body in the full movement, which looks like this. So I've got like a bit of tension here. I'm going to rotate the palm open, lead with the elbow lifting up. It's getting quite strong now, maybe a bit too much, so I lean back. Trace the forearm over the top of the head, rotate, and then we retrace. Come back, extend as I know the tension's building, I lean forwards, internal rotation, and then draw the hand up the back. And then we retrace there. Like I'm throwing a ball, a javelin. Trace over. Like so. Sometimes I like to do like 6 to 8 or so on each arm. What it looks like from the other angle. Tension on the strap first. Play with a little bit of the rotation in that extension. Floss the shoulder. And then from that internal, tension back. But I lean back to ease the tension. And then when I want to, my back clipped like 8 times. And then here I can lean forwards if it feels nice through that stretch there. And then retrace. Nice. So that's kind of the only exercise where we truly need the resistance band. The rest, we can keep a receipt, take it back to the shop if you didn't like that drill. And let's line this up again. All right. What have we got next? Lateral stretch. Now we've flossed out the shoulders. Let's target this lateral line here. A big culprit for when it comes to shoulder flexion over range limitations is sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the lat muscle here that connects from the upper arm to the ribs and almost kind of crosses over down towards the hip. If it's tight here, we struggle to get the arm up because we hit this inhibiting range here. So we want to open up this lateral line with one of my favorite stretches, our lateral puppy. This one, we bring the hips above the knees, hands out in front. Take the hands a little bit further to the left. Your right hand comes on top, interlaces through the fingers, and you're going to pull back with that right hand. Swing your ankles legs towards the left, and create a C shape with the body. So it's almost like a banana shape. And here you can do a little bit of a cat-cow. And I like to kind of floss and explore until I feel a little bit of a lovely conversation happening down here. Sometimes if you're tight or if you find a sweet spot, you can feel it all the way from the hip towards the lats as it crosses over the joints of the shoulder. So I'm going to do the same arm, just different angle. Interlace, swing the legs towards the left. And here you can see I'm exploring the line on this left side. I like to hang there for about 5 to 7 really like indulgent breaths, like trying not to let the mind wander and sitting in the stretch. Other side, so hands to the right side, left hand on top, interlace the fingers, send the ribs down to the left, swing the feet towards the right, creating that C shape. Oh, I'm a bit tighter on this side, I can feel it all the way into the hip, traveling up the QL a little bit, kind of that pocket between the ribs and the hip, traveling up the side of the ribs. Oh, yeah, this side really needs kind of a bit of this one. That is lovely. All right. Let's get into a little bit more of the action that the shoulder blades and the scapula need to be doing now. That gives us a lot of great conversation and fluency when it comes to exploring around dynamic of the shoulders, whether you work on acrobatics, hand balancing, floor work, ground work. We need to have good conversation in the shoulder blades. So, kind of like we did in the cycles where we flossed it out a little bit, here we're going to build strength into that range. Bring the hands out in front, thumbs pointing up towards the sky. From here, I protract round the back. Then from here, elevate. In protraction, we elevate, lift. In elevation, we squeeze back, retract. In retraction, we depress back down. Keeping the shoulder blades squeezed together. Imagine you've got sort of like a piece of paper between your shoulder blades and you're trying to trap it there. And then we release the paper, push. Elevate. Notice we're drawing this box here. Try to hit the extremities of each corner of that box. This here, really important conversation to have in the shoulders. And even that, you might get a bit of a sweat on doing that. After a couple rotations one way, you can find rotations the other way. Some days I like to draw the box. Sometimes I like to create a bit of alchemy, square the circles, so I pass through the corners and create circular motions. But circular motions, be careful of those because sometimes that can tend to breed not quite squeezing into the threshold and the borders of the range. But when we hit the corners to start with, we know we can really hit our max range in 2 of the 4. You're always in 2 aspects of articulating of the shoulder blades. And in transition, you're bleeding out of one and coming into the other. So it's always retract, depress, retract, elevate, elevate, protract, protract. Here we're in protract, elevate, and then here you come into protract, depression. So we're always like locking into 2 to create the corner. Do exactly the same thing. Tabletop position. Hands squeeze into the ground, heel of the hands press into the floor, fingerprints press into the floor, elbows above the wrist, same thing. Protract, depress, retract, elevate. Drawing this box. Minimizing as much as you can, if at all, any bend of the elbows. Try not to let this coupling happen here. When we associate the movements, which the body really tends to want to do because the body's inherently lazy, we need to kind of fight sometimes to isolate that range. If you're really struggling to find range of movement around the shoulder blades, then take the hands a little bit wider and it's going to give you a little bit more space for that rotation through, going all directions. Try and keep the pelvis nice and neutral there as well. Then what we can do to make it a tiny bit more spicy, we're just progressing through the warm-up, is lift up through the knees. Same movement, but we can be in quadruped. But if it's getting to a point where the challenge is making our technique waver, then regress it back down, knees down. If it's still, the technique is a bit, actually it should be fine there. Another way you can take this is plank position. Like so. Keeping hollow body tension in plank. Try not to have the Beyonce, but like this. You want to have hollow body tension, sternum to pubis, pubis to sternum. And we isolate here. Wow, wasn't really a follow-along, but it's not even a follow-along, but I'm feeling it. All right, next one. We're going to focus now on elevation and depression, but with the arms overhead. Hopefully with the strength we've got and the conversation around that movement. It takes time. It won't just come in this session. You might have awareness around it. You might have some physical epiphanies, but it's a work in progress. Hopefully that lateral floss from the lateral puppy pose has done a little bit of help here, which is going to give more conversation here. We're going to be on our downward facing dog, focusing on elevation, depression. So do not worry about the legs and the range of the legs. If you need to bend the knees to create more opening into the chest and the shoulders here, that's fine. We're going to create elevation where we hide the ears, depression, show the earlobes off. Hide the earlobes, show the earlobes, hide, show. From another angle. Here, make sure the arms stay straight. We find this external rotation in the arms, so that's why we have our thumbs up. So we want to find this hugging inwards, creating this opening here into our lift. It's very common for the shoulders to want to roll inwards. It happens with us stiff guys, but we need to fight the force coupling of external rotation and the flexion of the shoulders. I'm giving a lot of jargon here, just so you've got really refined intelligence around the movement, for those that don't know. But here, so I'm fighting, instead of internal rotation, we create the external wrap around, and here, notice the shoulders, hide the earlobes, show the earlobes, hide, show, hide, show, hide. Neck, nice and neutral. Try not to look too far up or tuck the chin or be complacent with the head completely. Let the head be nice and neutral. Beleza, okay. We're going to get into the strength aspect. Damn, I wanted a chair, but I cannot be bothered to find one. This might do. All right, strength aspect. Basic, off the bat. We're going to do some push-ups. I'm going to show variation. Push-ups can either be, try to keep the elbows above the wrists, like so. So adjust your knees accordingly to make sure the elbows above the wrists and keep them above the wrists. Full range. No better way to build raw strength than just go into the basics. It's when people do the most and just do the same of one exercise. That's where it gets a bit funny. There's no sort of like bulletproof specific exercise. Our body wants to be adaptive and our body wants to be curious. But we can start up here. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned push-up. Maybe legs lift, same thing. Elbows stay above the wrists. Full protraction, depression, retraction, and still depression. Shoulders away from the ears. Can work on that. So then, we don't need a chair. We're going to keep it good technique, simple drills. Pike push-ups, where we lift our hips now a little bit higher, and the more height they get above the shoulders, the more range, skill-specific range, we're starting to come into our handstand and acrobatic territory. So from standard push-up, we tiptoe in, here, sending the shoulders forward so we still keep the elbows above the wrists. Like so. This is not a follow along, so I'm not banging out these reps. You can see the rep ranges in the description underneath. That one there, make sure the elbows aren't flailing out. You can have the hands a bit wider, but make sure the elbows aren't doing this. Okay? The elbows stay above the wrists and our body pivots around that foundation. So as difficult or as annoying as it might feel, stay with it. Elbows stay above the wrist. That's our foundation. Options to do. 3 options in this that you can pick and mix depending on how you feel. Option 1, slow eccentrics. 5 seconds down. So we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset. Option 2, deficit, in and out. So go to where the hardest point of the movement is, and then push back up. And on the last rep, we hold in the hardest movement and we floss it a little bit. So let's say it's about this range here, where it feels really challenging. I'm gonna just go to that point, but make sure I have the integrity to push back up. Here, push down, okay, met the threshold, back up. Go to that point, oh, don't let the form waver, back up. A couple reps of those, say 3 to 5, 6 maybe, then hold on the last one. As you come down, so let's just say I've done 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On the last one, I meet that range, good form hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's a lovely one there. And then slowly that isometric hold, which is the static hold, will get stronger and stronger and more acclimated to the intention of what we want our body to do. Takes time, takes time. The last option is full rep. Your choice there. Eccentric, deficit push, threshold push, in and out, or with isometric hold, or full reps. If you've got 4 reps, take the feet onto a box, take the feet higher and higher until you get handstand push-ups. And if you've got handstand push-ups, then maybe you're not even on this video, or you're just stealing some ideas. Take them away. Okay, so that's the push-up. Next one we're gonna do. Have a breather after that as well, after you've done this session. That's kind of the warm-up into the strength. So I'm gonna write the rep ranges accordingly. Have a breather, and then the pièce de résistance is gonna be a little bit more relative to just building strength while in an inversion. We're gonna use a back-to-wall handstand. The focus here isn't line. We're not finding circus range, like sort of line in the body. Don't worry about too many cues. If you already have some like cues in the body that you like to use when you're in a handstand, then use them. But this is about building dynamic range of strength around the shoulders and bent arm strength a little bit here. So the movements, it's going to be the same premise as well. Eccentric lowers, threshold in and out, or full rep range. The movement is going to be kick up, back to wall. Walk the hands a little bit further away. From here, bend into the legs. Either come down, slow. 4, 3, 2, 1. Shake out. Oh, did I land on the speaker? No. Same thing, I kick up. Nice little bit of distance. Slowly down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh. Let's change up the angle. Hopefully you did see that though, because I don't want to do too many more. I might demonstrate one more. All right. So, it's about the distance I am. Slowly down. Head over the fingernails. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's tough, yo. Still trying to keep the angle of the elbows somewhat above the wrist. It's just really cross-adaptive. Ooh, dizzy spell. Breathe, the speeder. Yeah. But then I'm not really trying to find form. I'm not finding this. I'm just like, what the frig can my shoulders do right now? It's kind of what we're playing with here. So that's the eccentric lowers. Very challenging. Maybe get a pillow underneath the head, and or you could like have a bolster or something, which means you're not going as low, and it might feel a little bit safer. So here, this isn't the best thing to use because if I miss the target, I could hurt my neck. But just for demo purposes, you might use something a bit wider down. Actually that feels quite nice. Yeah. You can do that. That was actually really, really nice. So you don't have to go as far. Other option, threshold, up and down. This might be just a small break in the elbows to meet bent arm strength, and then back to locked out. That already is tough for many, many people. For people who have really only just worked on straight arm strength and lift, beautiful. I'm not very good at that personally, but my bent arm strength is quite strong. when I try to lock out, this is where my weaker points, my blind spots is somewhere around here. But we're playing with this movement, in and out. So, as I come up, same thing. Maybe there, back up, down, back up, like so. Just a lot of raw strength to playing with. There I was just kind of doing an example of where the threshold might be, and back up, and then a nice one could be bend the arms and hold. You need to see where that threshold is. Or what we can do is full rep range. The further away your hands are, the more back bend kind of strength it's going to require. But it might be a little bit easier, so it's less of a handstand push-up, and it's coming more into a feet elevated wheel push-up. So there's some madness happening next door. So the next one can be a bit further away, down and up. I'll go further away, down. Oh, that's tough. And up. Trying to lock out into that full elevation. That's a tough one. I'm just going to say, play with that. The hands a little bit closer to the wall, or the hands a bit further away from the wall. Again, I'll write the rep ranges. Eccentrics, threshold, full rep range. Play with that. Somewhat prescribe. If the knees are bent at a 90-degree angle, you're probably in quite a nice spot for a lot of the exercises, like this. That's a good one there. And then you can feather it either side. I think we've got some more to go. Yeah, last one. Okay. Last one we're going to play with actually just some static strength around the shoulders. First one is going to be it's called Mars bars, and we're going to stay in the pike progression down now, but with our holds. This is a nice one in and of itself to play, and all of these exercises you can pick and mix, please. It doesn't have to be this full session. You can do, or you can pick and mix the movements. Mars bars. It's called Mars bars because when I used to do pole vaulting, we used to have to do this leg lift drill where we hang on a bar like this, and then we'd have to hold for 5 seconds. Then we lift up the legs quarter way, both legs, hold for 5 seconds, halfway hold, the leg will go up to 3/4, hold, toes tap the bar, and hold for 5 seconds, and then back down. And if we could do the whole thing clean, we used to get given a little Mars bar. So we called them Mars bars. So throwback. So now I just coin it that with the rest of these movements. But we're just going to do slow isometric holds through an eccentric contraction, which is going to be pike shape here. Elbows above the wrist, elevate the shoulders. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Break the arms, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Halfway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hover. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh. I will personally send you a box of celebrations if you can do that up and down. I mean, it's not that hard, and I'm probably not going to send celebrations, but I'll give you a big thumbs up if you get it. Either just going down eccentrically, counting for 5. If you want to make it realistic, have a phone, stopwatch underneath your face, so you can do a true 5 seconds. And if you can push it back up through the concentric phase. So after we've done 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down, then from here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, halfway. Sorry, that was supposed to be halfway there. Quarter way, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can finish on that as a bit of a, what do they call it at the end of Cali sessions? It's not a punisher, but oh my god, a finisher. Is it finisher? There's a word, isn't it? I can't remember. Anyway, it's going to be the thing that we close with. From there, a little tip about cool down when it comes to strength. What is generally good when you've done something that's focused on like real raw strength is actually just down regulating your nervous system to let like your CNS, your muscles, also calm back down, and then realize that the stress and the load we placed on the body was actually conducive to our goals, to our intelligence with our body. There's no point doing all of this strength. We've just found all these little micro tears, contractions, and we've done all of this to the body, and then we kind of like counter it and do some stretches, and and whatever stretches it might be. Like, you've just spent all this time doing contractions. Give your body time to like acclimate into that, but don't just do the strength and just leave it. Like, give yourself a bit of time. I like to hang out in the most passive of passive stretches, maybe, where I'm barely even feeling a note of tension. And then just do breath work. And 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale. Maybe do a few rounds in a certain posture. And I'm literally just hanging out. And I'm not trying to get too much out of this. Just let the body down-regulate through breath. I might even just like this after a strength session. And I bring my imagination and awareness to the parts of the body that I've just worked. And it sounds friggin' woo-woo, but I just talk like kindly to it. And when you do it, it feels good. Like, I'm not trying to do this from like some spiritual woo-woo point. Like, here. 4-second inhale. 6-second exhale. And through the breath, let the concentration of this really stem towards the intention you've just done. Like, you found yourself here for a reason. You just put the shoulders under that work. Your beautiful body has really just had that capacity and strength. Your body has your back. So let's just take a moment to appreciate that. It feels good, man. And through that breath out, just saying like, wow, relax, it's okay. Because a tight muscle, it's gonna give jip. We don't want it at the ready. We've done the work. A strong muscle is a soft and supple muscle. That's a sign of aliveness in the body. So here, just let yourself down regulate. And then, maybe, I like to leave it a couple hours, or maybe at the end of the day, then I might do a passive flexibility session around the shoulders. Nothing too loaded, but give it time to let the body find its natural harmony, and we kickstart that and amplify that and accelerate that through the breathing straight after this session. And then maybe a few hours later, I start finding the stretch. Because if we keep working that strength range without the passive range, we're going to find what tends to happen when we get very, very skill specific. Our body just finds its habits into that range. So that's a little tidbit for you there. Hope you enjoyed this session. It's a bit unhinged, a bit chaotic at times. Things you're going to find really challenging. So move on to certain progressions if you can. Yeah, especially the wall one. That one's going to be flavoursome. But when you go into your handstand practice, all of that kind of like isolated and specific strength really does translate into when we start to find a plumb line into our handstand, and also have the adaptability in the handstand as well. And that adaptability translates to our acrobatics. So, with that being said, love, 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 family. This was Movement Decoded. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you when I see you next.